What are the 10 best rap albums of the 2020s so far? Well, I've only gone and got the bloody answer, and it's in this video. It's going to be in this video. There's going to be all the 10 albums that I think are the best albums of the 2020 so far in the hip-hop genre, and you're going to agree? You're not going to disagree? No, you'll definitely be agreeing with some, but also thinking, why the hell isn't this here? Why the hell haven't you got that? Well, it is, of course, my own opinion, and just stick around and get some recommendations, because there will be some albums in this list that I think you won't be too familiar with, and that is what I'm here for, to give you guys the goods and give you guys my opinion on what I think of the Ben? Who's Ben? The best. Ben? Macklemore? Macklemore? Yeah, he's in this list. I know. Yeah, the 10 best rap albums of the 2020 so far, and yeah, no particular order, and there's nothing else to say. Just stick around, support the content, watch more videos. If you want to see other lists, actually, of other 2020s videos, then there is a whole playlist of me doing that. Because we're kind of in the mid-range of the 2020s. We're in the middle section now, aren't we? I've done tier lists. I've done other lists. I've done rock, underrated, pop. Watch those if you really want to see other lists as well on what I think are the best. And tell me how wrong I am in the comments. Especially that tier list of the rap albums, because you didn't like that one. No. Let's go. Tell me your picks in the comments. Tell me what I got wrong. Tell me what you agree with. And yeah, follow for more. Subscribe. Stick around. Let's go. Starting with a very agreeable one. I don't think you're going to take too much issue with this one. Little Sims. Sometimes I might be introvert. What magnum opus this is. I mean, there's no saying that she won't ever top this, but to get to this stage in her career and drop an album of this level was just so great to see. It was so nice to feel vindicated as well, because you could see there was a lot of potential, a lot of talent there. Grey Area was really good as well, if we're being honest too. That was a really good album, but it was like, okay, how can you up the ante? How can you take it a step further? And she gives us this, an album that is so lavish, so extravagant, so over the top with the production and expensive sounding. The production really is truly special, and Little Sims is rapping, I think, at her best, her very best of her career, I would absolutely say. Just a really wonderful album that has so many different kind of variations of topics, and Little Sims just trying to really shake things up in the styles that she's choosing to rap over as well. Fear No Man sounds completely different to Woman, and then Woman sounds completely different to the opening track, Introvert, but it all feels like it's interwoven, locked in, a nice concept as well that all feels really clear. Yeah, just a fantastic album. I think Little Sims knocked it out of the park here, and it was very hard for me to see a world where this isn't at least in the top 10 of the decade so far. Like, how can you not have this in, unless you really just don't like it for some reason, or you might not have heard it? Well, please listen to it and then you'll know what I mean. Going with an album that's only just come out this year, but I'm very confident in putting it on this list because it's very much easily, for me so far, 2024's best rap album, so therefore for me it has to be in the conversation for the best albums of the decade so far in rap music. Vince Staples' Dark Times. What an album this is. I think Vince Staples is on a really fantastic run at the moment. Now, his early stuff and his start of his career is nothing to be sniffed at. You shouldn't be dismissing any of that. It was a really good introduction to who he is as an artist, and he dropped some really good albums, do not get me wrong, but the leg he's on at the moment just feels way more pained and self-reflective, and feels like he's just very much penning his most introspective work to date, where he's talking about his surroundings, how that is ultimately impacting his own mental well-being, his mental health, the environment that he's surrounded by. He's done this for quite a while now, and I think this is just the best he's done it at, with some really fantastic, fun West Coast production, while also being, having some of the kind of slower emotional cuts as well on the album. Little Homie's been a kind of banger one, but then a couple of tracks towards the end are a bit slower, more pensive. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I think Vince is seriously penning some fantastic rap music at the moment. I actually think he could improve on this as well, which is mad, because I think this might be his best so far, honestly. I think there's a few contenders in that conversation for his best, but for me, this might be his best one. And yeah, I still feel like he could top it again, which is exciting to see. He's just on such a good run at the moment. He's in a great space artistically. Vince Staples, put some respect on that man's name. Want to mention Pierre Bourne next with his album The Life of Pierre 5, which, look, hear me out here for a second. If you didn't like this album to begin with, do the thing that we all do with trap albums and give it a revisit and then decide actually it was a lot better than you gave it credit for. Because this is a very common thing within this genre of music, and I feel this is one of those albums that really got quite an unfair reputation to start with. I understand that Pierre as a rapper, particularly comparatively to the previous two I've just mentioned, who are absolutely at the top of their game right now in terms of penning excellent, bars and rhymes. Like, Pierre is not really that at all, and he's more known for his production. But I actually think what he brings to the table on this album is more impactful and impressive than some people were willing to give it credit for. Like I say, he's kind of more of a sort of serviceable instrument adding to the atmosphere than he is like a forefront rapper adding some really, exciting bars or anything like that. It's not that kind of music. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's so intoxicating. It's so addictive. When you hear one song, you just can't help but feel like you need to listen to like 5 or 6 more. And it's a pretty long album too. So you're getting very much a lot of content in that kind of regards on this album that fills that feeling that I think is really impressive. Of course, I think a lot of people might think that his stuff with Carti is better than his own individual solo stuff, which, yeah, fair enough. I probably would agree with you actually, but I still would say this is a fantastic album in its own right. And like I say, go back to it. Some of that production is stellar, like the way the tracks kind of segue into these little like passages and then transition into the next song is just so great to hear. Like, it is really, really creative, I think. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. Going a little bit more experimental with my next pick, Clipping, Visions of Bodies Being Burned. This to me is Clipping's best album that they have put out to date. Love what Daveed Diggs brings to the table in terms of just like pure rapping ability. This guy is really second to none, honestly. Like, when he's just at it and those flows are just going on and on and on, this guy is unstoppable. He is ridiculous. When you think that this is the same guy that does stuff in the Hamilton music theatre production stuff, like, you wouldn't think he's the same guy that's in that friggin' Wonder film, who plays that teacher. Also the same guy that's in Burning as well. Like, this guy has got a lot of talents. He's kind of like the underground Childish Gambino in that sense, where he's just able to do many things. And one thing he does so well is just penning these ridiculous, outlandish, like beyond thought concepts. And this, I think, is the best he ever done on this album, with all of these really cool kind of horror twists. It's kind of like playing into horror tropes, but having its own spin on it, and there being this kind of like unique twist in the tale, and each track is its kind of own story, but it all comes together fantastically. So many amazing production moments as well. Like, they are ridiculously like ahead of their time. I think we need to respect what they're doing right now, because if we don't, we'll leave them in the past and not appreciate what they were able to do. Because tracks like Enlacing just sound insanely like, what? Like, ridiculous. It's such a fantastic album. Really appreciate the concept and all of that. Yeah, the rapping is fantastic, the hooks are great, the beats are great, everything's so good. Bit of an underrated one, I would say, but easily in my top 10. Tyler, the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost. You could even add the estate sale edition, and that's fine too. If you have the whole entire deluxe edition album running from start to end, that is fantastic, man. That is great, because some of those deluxe tracks are fantastic. But if we're talking about the standard edition, I'm still including that too. What a great album this is. An album that I didn't appreciate initially, but over time, just really liked how raw and rugged it feels. And kind of like it has this mixtape quality too, when you've got DJ Drama doing those yells over these tracks and talking about being in Geneva and shit, and he doesn't even know where that place is. He doesn't even know what he's on about. He's kind of a bit in your face, but I think it kind of brings you back to those kind of 2000s mixtapes, Lil Wayne, that kind of stuff, the Gangsta Grill stuff. It kind of has that nostalgic feel. I think he does such a great job of capturing that kind of like early to mid 2000s era of hip-hop, while also being modern, while also being just unapologetically Tyler, with these lyrics and these bars and the hooks and the features. So many great features on here, man. You got the Lil Wayne feature, you got Uzi on here, you've got friggin' Ty Dolla $ign, like so many good ones. Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance, one of those classic track 10 moments that Tyler gives us. It's another great one. Nice little transition into that second beat as well. Just him kind of going hard on tracks like Corso, Juggernaut, just Lemonhead. Yeah, 42 Doug on that track. Yeah, just so many great moments. It feels like Tyler's kind of bringing back some of that old Tyler while not being as annoying or as edgy with it, and just doing some really great rapping and putting out some fantastic hip hop songs as well. Yeah, I initially gave this a 7 out of 10 in my review, but I think I was unfair there. It's grown on me a lot. I think it's great. McKinley Dixon with Beloved Paradise Jazz. I know some people might pick the other McKinley Dixon album that came out this decade, but I think this one was a lot better. I think it was a lot better. That was a good album too, but this was fantastic, man. Love the jazzy production that completely swamps this album in such a great way. It's soulful. McKinley's just at the forefront, just rapping in a way that brings his character more to life. He has a lot more personality on this album. There's just so many fantastic moments for me. I adore how just quick and straight to the point it is. I remember when I first heard this album, actually, it was like 30 minutes long, the whole album. I played it, and I just played it again. I was like, this is so short, so snappy, it's straight to the point, and I had such a good time with it that I was just like, I'm just going to play this thing again. And that might surprise you hearing me say that as such a compliment, because a lot of you might do that yourself, but I actually don't do that very often. Like, I don't play an album and then listen to the whole thing from start to end immediately after. But this was one of those rare cases that I had just such a good time with it on first listen that I had to do it again. The rapping's great. The lyrics, I think, are really good. The beats and the production is fantastic. That Beloved Paradise Jazz title track is just stellar. The Run 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 is a lot of fun too. Yeah, great album. Really severely underrated. I can't believe how very few year-end lists had this on it. I couldn't believe that this wasn't on the conversation, because everyone was talking about how 2023 was such a weak year for rap music, and yet nobody talked about this album. Mad to me, but it's great. I've got to go with Denzel Curry, another album that has really grown on me a lot since it came out. Melt Your Eyes, See My Future. Yeah, again, underrated this one massively. I think it's a great album. Really love how Denzel is giving us more introspective lyrics, kind of talking again about his surroundings, talking again about the environment of America and growing up as a black man in America and living as a black man in America, of course, as well. And yeah, his commentary isn't the most like, whoa, I've never heard anything like that before, but I still think it's done incredibly well with great beats, great rapping. I mean, Walking with that beat switch is fantastic. The sample on there is amazing too. I actually talked about this album recently in a worst to best I did for Denzel, where I talked about it being the best Denzel album so far. So yeah, it is an album that has stuck with me. I think the kind of nice combination of some of his old style coming through on some of the tracks, and him kind of doing some more like drum and bass stuff towards the end of the album, I think is really welcomed as well. The feature's good. You got T-Pain on here doing his thing. Yeah, lots of good stuff to like about this album. I think I was a bit harsh on it initially. I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10, but over time, sometimes music just grows on you and you appreciate what it does. And this was one of those cases. I'm not going to specifically name a Khalil Blue album here, because I think both of them from this decade are very much worthy of being in this conversation. And they're both pretty similar in how they sound too, so what's the point? But Metropolis, Dog, both fantastic. Again, super underrated rap albums from the 2020 so far. I feel as though Khalil Blue should be getting a lot more respect than he does at this stage. But yeah, I think Dog and Metropolis are just really snappy, to the point, have a lot of different styles coming through. I think his flows are really fun. I think his flows are really catchy. I think his hooks are fantastic as well. Lots going for it, but also the style of production he chooses. He kind of raps over some, you know, jazzy, soulful hip-hop beats, but also picking some trap beats and picking other types of beats as well. There's lots of variety of what he's doing. And yeah, I don't really know why he's such a, you know, a niche artist at this point. There shouldn't be a reason why he hasn't captured at least some kind of audience somewhere yet. But I think these albums are great, and they had to be on my list. I want to mention Smino next as well. Love for Rent, just a really joyful, happy rap album that brings a smile to my face whenever I hear it. I think Smino's delivery is really fun, it's animated, it's excitable. I love what he brings to the table. I love how he incorporates features on his tracks as well, because some of the best songs on this album are the features, and well, are the ones with the features, should I say. But yeah, are fantastic. His kind of southern rap style coming through really uniquely. He's got a really nice bounce to his production. He picks some great beats. His, you know, rhymes aren't the most proficient you've ever heard or most technically skilled. Whoa! But I think he brings a lot of personality to the table that kind of makes it worth listening to regardless. But yeah, I just love the style of production with his rapping and where he pulls his influences from. He has some pretty obvious influences, but I think he does it in a way that stands out. And again, maybe an album that isn't getting as much shine as it should, really. But for me, I love this one. And my 10th and final pick, we started with a UK rapper. We're going to end with a UK rapper, guys, if that's okay, because Jesy, universal credit, is fantastic. I'll tell you that right now. This is a great album that I think captures the pure essence of what it's really like to be somebody that comes from a background of poverty. Now, I think there are a lot of rappers that do a good job of touching on these topics elsewhere, but Jesy for me is one of the best of his kind, because this album is so detailed, it's so brimming with just these small details that make it so relatable, and for anybody who has come from that background will totally understand the things he says. Yeah, absolutely adore this thing. I think he's ridiculously underrated. I can't believe this album didn't catch on with more people, especially when you look at the UK rap scene at the moment. You know, you got Storms, you got H, you got Central C for some reason as well. Like, there's lots of names popping up and getting in the mainstream. Even Lil Sims you could add to that list as well. She hasn't had a massive mainstream boost yet, but she's still a recognizable name. She's still well known, but Jesy hasn't broke in, and I thought this album really should have been the one to do that. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's really a wonderful personal album that just touches on those finer details in such a unique way. Not really heard many albums that do this, really. Avondale Bowling Club would be another, I think, that gets close in the more recent years. I think Tom Scott is a really fantastic writer who also does similar things with his pen on his work. But yeah, Jesy, for me, nailed it with this one. It's catchy as well, you know, the flows are great. It's not like it's all just sad and gloomy. It is really well put together. I think it's fantastic. And that is it from me, the best rap albums of the 2020s so far, in no particular order. I've given you 10 of them, and that is my personal opinion on what I think is the best of this decade so far. And I know you're probably thinking, oh man, where's Baby Keem? Where's Schoolboy Q? Where's Travis Scott? Where's JPEG Mafia? Where is Billy Woods? Where? Kendrick Lamar. Jesus Christ, Kendrick Lamar, probably one of the biggest omissions on this list. And that, you know what? That's a very good album. Mr. Morale is really good. But for just the 10 albums, for me personally, these are the ones that made it. And just because something isn't here doesn't mean I don't like it. Jid as well, I'm sure that would be on a lot of people's lists also. But these are the ones that I went with. These are my favourites. Playboy Carti, I'm sure you want to see him too. But yeah, this is my personal list, and hopefully you agree. So if you disagree, point out what your picks are in the comments. Place your top 10. Let me know. Tell me your thoughts on my picks here. If you haven't heard any of these, make sure you listen to them and then get back to me. I would love to see what you think. Have a good day. Check out my Patreon if you're feeling really generous. At least like the video and subscribe for more videos as well. Have a good day. Goodbye.